we're not yet back. And we're back. Thank you for sticking with me. WPWL 103.7 FM, Pauling Public Radio out of the Rush Studio in Pauling. Here with Jessica Iankowitz, my guest. And we are discussing the impact of television, programs, movies, and commercials, the messages they give, the impact on our children, and how can we control what our children understand and take from these so that the lessons we want our kids to learn are not diluted or dissolved by media.
Yes.
So, yes.
So when you start a new job, most places have training. And it can be either 2 weeks, a month, depending on the position, consulting, it could be even more. For those who have that experience, what is covered during that training period? Material of policies, right?
Yeah,
Is
the
that
organizational
familiar?
structure, and then you know,
Yeah,
later on you do a
expectations,
gap
what
analysis.
we do, how we speak, how we dress, how to conduct
Yes,
oneself.
the rules.
Yep, and then sometimes there might be a trainer in the room to make sure that everything that is being thrown at you is, being absorbed, and they ask, do you have any questions? Okay, so we have that picture in our minds. Why should that be any different at home? Is it any different at home?
Well, it shouldn't be, because at work it's sort of the work-family environment, and now at home it's the home-family environment. So there
now-
have to be rules.
And what would that look like? It would look like family dinners, or one family weekday a
It's
week.
not practical every single day of the week, but I guess that's why they've invented Sunday afternoon, going to church, Shabbat dinner, things like that. And each
Sundays,
religion,
yeah.
each culture has a special time set aside.
And when a challenge arises, how is it handled at work normally?
A conference,
A conference. You should have conferences at home
family
as well.
conferences.
Letting the child know that certain matters are important to you, you care enough about them that you want to have an open discussion to be able to reflect and discuss whatever mismatch happened that created discomfort, confusion, so
So
on.
could anybody call a family conference?
To-
Because
the
in our
parents-
family, anybody was permitted to call a family
Yeah, but
conference.
the children didn't until like.
But parents can also have a let's review the week kind of dinner.
Yes. Oh, and if it's not during dinner, you create the time that everyone is in the home. If everyone is physically in the space, you now need to carve out time to have that family conference. Now, how do you lure those children to the table or to the couch, to the space where this talk's going to happen?
Well, you can have an investigative researcher. It's not homework, but you're giving. Oh, I want to give you an investigative research assignment. I want you to find a message in a movie that is.
People don't have. I'm
no.
sorry.
This is. All right, say what you were going to say, and then I'll tell you what I was thinking.
All right, I'm talking about the typical family that is overworked. There's not a lot of time from the parents, not a lot of interest from the children. How do you get them in one space at one time? And you can use M&Ms. You can use the candy. If they're a healthful family, use carrots. Whatever it is to bring the people there. And you make it sort of like a game in that they have X amount of carrots, candy, whatever it is that lures that child to this space. And you make it
Maslow's
clear.
basic needs. Feed them, and they will come.
There you are.
Yeah.
Well,
That's not
exactly it.
Maslow.
Sure, that's
The
it.
basic needs. I know.
And you teach them how to not interrupt by enforcing, if you interrupt, if you're disrespectful, we're going to take one of whatever it is that's before them away from them. And you make this so that it works for everyone in this space. Dad interrupts mom. The kid's allowed to say, hey, Dad, hand it over. And everyone is equal.
So you're giving people power.
You're giving people power. Yes.
Okay, so they ever
And-
get to eat their.
At the very end of the meeting. They have to be patient. No, but seriously, it's a huge challenge. In meetings, there are those who truly do have ADD, I understand that. And then there are others who, because of society and the way we're structuring our entertainment and the way information is, coming at us, we're fostering an ADD mentality of next, next, next. One can't sit still and just pay attention to one subject at a time.
So wait a second, there are games that actually can be played. Do you remember? I hand to you a witch, a what? A witch, or a stick, or this. Remember, and then you have to say it. There are certain games where you have to actually repeat, or instead of that kind of a game, a similar game where somebody says something, and then the next person who wants to say something should say, what I understood from what you said was, and now I'd like to say this. And people should continue to offer
But it's very
clarification.
immediate and it's an item, and that's to teach someone how to pay attention to an item and not get stuck in any one situation at one time for too long. By you being in a circle, I'm familiar with the game. That's not exactly the point I'm trying to make. I'm talking about staying on topic for an important subject.
So how do you know? How do you
So
pick a
you-
subject? That's what I was
Whatever
trying to
the
talk about.
challenge
All right, let's say
is.
there's no challenge, and that's what I was getting at before. I sort of got ahead of myself. I think instead of giving the kids an assignment, like a homework assignment, I want you to come back and tell me blah, blah, blah. You can say, depending on the age of the child, the way current events used to be done in school, I don't know if it's still done these days, current events, children have to read the newspaper or read on certain political, whatever's going on in different
Read,
countries
review,
and bring
and
it
then share.
back.
Yes.
Well, I think that parents can say, let's each, if we don't want to share something that happened in our own day, let's each find a topic, either within a television commercial program or a computer game or a movie or something we read, something, and you say a topic. The topic will be either,
But I think it is really important to know what's going on in your child's day, and if your child's not comfortable sharing that, that in itself is a flag, and it's worth investigating. You don't want to take, quote, the easy way out of this family time, because it is limited. You are not gonna have that family time for long. You only have preschool, elementary, middle school, high school. That child's not in the home.
I get it.
So make the most of that time and figure out what's on their mind, what is going on, and if that's not your type of parenting, all right, but make sure good mentors are in the orbit of the child.
Alrighty, so giving your children the strength to pick healthy mentors, particularly to develop skills that you cannot offer those children, like for example, if you're not good at math, you get a math tutor, and that would be a mentor for the child. I would like to move specifically right now to what we promised the audience, which is how do we make sure that the children take from the television commercials, because I honestly was horrified at certain commercials that I saw. I will give you an example. You made a comment the other day when you saw a TV commercial about somebody stealing a Lego My Ego or something like that, or somebody.
Oh yeah, what message are we? We're not teaching
They're not
sharing.
sharing. We're not teaching sharing. So if the child is seeing that commercial, and we may think this is just, it's not intuitive. This is something that we really need to be able to specifically state. You take a look at that commercial, you say, oh my goodness, they made it look like it was a cute, fun thing. No, I don't like that behavior. The parent should say it to the child.
And then Cheeto, I don't remember.
Yeah, whatever,
And it's like
whatever
everyone's
the
hiding
cereal,
it from dad.
people are stealing things. People are saying, oh, I can find the Carfax and, okay, we'll do it your way, and making it not as if it's a team effort. Just, I challenge.
These
and
little messages
Yes.
make huge impact. And one could say, oh, come on, it's just a quick segment. No, those quick segments can have
they can
a
run deep.
ripple effect. Exactly.
I challenge listeners, or any of the viewers who check this out on Facebook after, I challenge you to watch several television commercials during the day. See if you can find some. Even when you play those movies on Xfinity or whatever you've got, DirecTV, you play movies, they all have commercials embedded. Take a look at some of those. Don't just go out and get a cup of coffee. Take a look at some of those commercials to see the messages that the kids, our kids, the next generation, are getting. They're getting messages of cheating. They're getting messages of stealing. They're getting messages of all sorts of horrible things that we say on one hand, that's terrible. And then these television shows and commercials are indicating, hey, these are accepted in our society. Not good, people. So we need to take, and you know what I'd like, any listeners, you can call 845-493-0355. If you are aware of a fabulous commercial or an awful commercial filled with terrible messages, I would love for you to call in or just post it on the Facebook page, write it in to me or write it to the WPWL. It's paulingpublicradio.org. Go to that Facebook page and you can, is that right, Zach? The sound engineer is gonna help me, give me clues here, because he always gets me out of trouble when I get myself into trouble. So, do something with communication with your family. Feel free to communicate with us over the radio. I'm not gonna go to break, but I'm going to do some station identification, because you are listening to 103.7 FM Pauling Public Radio, out of the Rush Studio in Pauling, and this is Marcy's World. I'm your host, Dr. Nancy Iankowitz, and we're going to continue with Jessica Iankowitz, who's an HR professional, graduate from Georgetown, teaching us how the home environment can be very similar to the work environment. How can we make it work at home, and in particular, how can we help to educate our children with the proper rules and set the proper examples, much in the same way it's done on the job through, HR, we can do it at home. So what else have you noticed through the families that you've observed at work, or any other children that you've been aware of, messages they come away with?
At least in places I've been, we don't have so much bring your child to work day, but we now have programs teaching the children skills. And at that
How
time,
young?
Elementary school and middle school is usually the target, and would be like women who code, girls who code, and bringing your child in during that time. I think it's really important to bring the child into your workspace, because most hours of your day are spent at work. You're sleeping or you're working, and to have that child see the space that you are in all the time and your role there, what you're doing, it's important. It's the first job your child's going to be able to identify.
I want to say something about that. You made a very important point. We don't know what the children tune into. I'm going to tell you a story of my little girl, who was 5 years old at the time, and she went to work with Daddy, and came home, and that evening said, "Daddy doesn't work. He stands around with his arms folded and tells people what to do." And that was her impression. And then, a year or two later, she was about 7, she went to a meeting, another go to work with Daddy. This was a Daddy day, go to work. And she went to one of the meetings, came out of the meeting, and then told Daddy, there were 5 men at the meeting. This one, I don't trust this one. I don't believe that one. That one's okay, and I wouldn't want to be that one's daughter. And she assessed and then grew up. By the time she was 10, she noticed that her daddy worked on a construction site. He was working for a consulting company. And every time we passed an orange cone on the road, she'd scream, "Daddy's here! Daddy's working here! Oh, I want to visit Daddy. We're at Daddy's work." And thought that every time there was an orange cone, it was Daddy. So kids are cued by colors. Kids are cued by the vibe in the room. Kids are cued by the way you interact with your colleagues and the way they interact with you. And you do not know necessarily what they're taking from it. So if you have a Take Your Child to Work day, it's really valuable to have the children share that evening what they took from it. It may shock the pants off you. So do you remember that, Jessica?
I think that little one was correct about her assessment of those people, and later found out that some of them were later fired.
Yeah, those people, right? That you were right about those people. That is true.
But to that point, children, some are very sensitive, and they're able to pick up on vibes and looks, subtleties that when you're with a coworker day in and day out, and you might overlook X and Y, and to have the perspective of the new set of eyes, a child or not, is very valuable, and make the most of your resources.
Seeking the child's feedback as well is very valuable, because that empowers the child, and it also gives you some other insights. So there are parents who are at work, and then there are the stay-at-home parents who might have more of an opportunity to tune into these programs and see what the kids are watching between the shows, which are the commercials.
And I don't want to stray from the point too far, but for those who recognize, well, I can't bring my child to work because they're unruly, they can't sit still, blah, blah, blah. You know, now to tie this into the health, you made the point to me when we were out a little while ago at a restaurant and there was a child that was just having a real
yeah.
tantrum. There's a type of tantrum that could be indicative of a food allergy.
Right, there are certain tantrums or certain behavior, impulse control issues that can be related to, you know, maybe they didn't get enough oxygen the night before. If you remember, we talked to Dr. Mobilia. He's a dentist, and he is a specialist in helping with breathing disorders through the night. Maybe your child's not getting enough oxygen the night before. Maybe your child has a food sensitivity. Maybe the child just didn't get enough quality sleep or is tired right now or is fighting a viral infection. All of these things can set off behavior. So when you pair this with mixed messages that come through the media, whether it be social media, and we didn't even get into the cyberbullying. We didn't even get into that in this
That'll be for another
broadcast.
time.
But just the regular messages that come at the children, the way the children process is also colored by where the physiology is. What are they eating? What are they drinking? How are they sleeping? So timing all of that stuff is really important. When you're at work all day, you're also tired. You're stressed from stuff that goes on at work. So taking deep breaths, working meditation into your daily routine or sometime during the week can work wonders for children. It's valuable to pick a television program, and again, because TV is not going away. TV is now on the iPad, it's on the iPhone, it's on the computer. TV has found its way into every electronic device because kids can watch old episodes of different things. I challenge you to have your kids tune into Little House on the Prairie from the past.
I was just about to say, I huge TV junkie in middle school, high school no more, college absolutely not. But I remember I used to love like One Tree, all sorts of shows, and the worst grounding I could have was that you're not allowed to watch TV for X amount of time, but
You're allowed to watch
Little House on the Prairie. And
yeah.
I watched Little House on the Prairie.
So you can
Lots of
actually
lessons
work
in
this
that.
in, you know, when you need to try to get your kids to have some wholesome messages. Maybe the Waltons or Little House on the Prairie.
Never liked the one.
They do, I
But
know, and there was
Saved
a
by
little
the
bit
Bell is actually, I mean, I haven't watched it in a long
Watch
time,
some
but
TV shows. Take
good
15
messages.
minutes with your kids. If your child
Oops,
does not
sorry.
want to actually talk to you, because that's a natural phase that kids go through at various ages, you may want to just sit next to your child or be in the vicinity of your child while your child is watching a TV show or a movie in the living room. You may want to encourage that. If that's easier for you in terms of communication and getting in your child's space, and then you can discuss what messages you're getting from what you see on television. You can interpret the messages of the commercials as well, and that's how you can help your children to get the messages you want them to get.
And more than anything, be the example. Everyone would like to be able to respect, admire their leader, their boss, their manager. There's no reason one should have that estranged relationship that, oh my God, I was just called to the office and I have no idea what's going to happen, and it be an anxiety-filled episode. Unfortunately, it seems that that same type of reality finds its way into the home. For whatever reason, I don't know who.
Home life finds its way into work as well. People play out
Mirrors.
stuff at work
Yeah.
that is unresolved at home. People play out stuff at home that is unresolved at work.
And I'm not saying to be a Woodstock parent, but be the parent that if you were to watch it on the screen, you'd be proud and say, I want to be just like that. Be your own role model, and be the type of person you'd want your child to find and emulate.
Right. So then to sum up this piece of this broadcast, I think, and correct me if I leave something out or if I say it wrong, it seems to me that we're saying be the role model that you want your children to emulate. Try to choose behavior that makes yourself proud. Eye contact is essential. Recognize if children seem to be restless. It may be related to a food sensitivity or a poor night's sleep or fighting an infection.
How would
Or
one know?
something could be on their mind. We'll be covering that in other broadcasts.
Okay.
It's a very good question, and if anybody has that question, you can write to me at Dr. Iankowitz, DRIANKOWITZ @yahoo.com. Write Marcy's World in the subject line, and I'll be happy to answer your questions if you have any about this broadcast or how you can tell if what is this tantrum or impatience related to from the child. So children not only reveal their food sensitivities and their poor sleep or their fighting an infection with behavior, but they can also pick up on different vibrations, colors, ideas, thoughts, messages, and
Smells.
interpret them. Smells, odors are very big.
Alcohol
That's
being
right,
smelled,
they
or
pick up on
lavender
that.
and- yeah.
So when your kids are overexposed to social media, see if you can help to have you can encourage discussions with those children, your children, about what they learned that day. See if you can weigh in on some of the messages your kids bring back so that you can ensure that the positive messages are reinforced and the negative messages are diffused by the way you review them with your children. Thank you, Jessica, for being my guest today here on
Pleasure,
Marcy's
thank you.
World. And we will be back next time with more health and wellness tips. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for Intermission with Christine Bexley. You don't want to miss it. Bye-bye for now.